So welcome everybody, this is the SharePoint Patterns and Practices, a SharePoint framework and JavaScript special interest group. So this is the bi-weekly chunk, and on every single Thursday we basically have a SharePoint developer community call. Every other week it is around general SharePoint development, which is everything which is outside of the SharePoint framework, and then bi-weekly it is a SharePoint framework and JavaScript development. So the other one is more on the, let's say, PowerShell provisioning, solution designs, Power Apps, Flow, and all of that kind of things. And this one is more on the SharePoint framework side of the game. Now, we have once again a cool setup of functionalities, so cool demos coming up today, but let's do a few random slides, and I do have some updates on the SharePoint framework and next versions as well. So today we're going to talk about a small update on the SharePoint framework from the engineering side, which equals me. So I didn't do a proper introduction, but I'm from the SharePoint framework engineering side, so I'm basically updating you on what's happening there. And then we do an update on the PnP JS. Hopefully Patrick can actually talk a few minutes on there, and Office 365 CLI and SPFx Reusable Controls. So we have a nice update there from Elio. Elio is going to do a quick demo on 2 new controls as well, and then SPFx Yeoman generator from Stefan. So these are our open source initiatives around SharePoint framework and JavaScript development. And then on top of that, we have 2 cool community demos. So one from Manez around creating a React Themes tab using SharePoint framework, and then which is showing you suggestions for the people who would be joining on the group. And the other one is from David Warner around how would I actually and why would I care about the Docker, and why is that useful for SharePoint framework, and why and how to get started. It is actually quite easy to get started on Docker if you actually find it beneficial for you, and let's have that discussion when David is presenting at the end. Good. Just a quick reminder, when you're joining, please remember to be mute yourself so there's no background noise, just in case, so that because everybody is joining here. Now, by the way, before we go to the call, most likely in 2 weeks, potentially, we might have actually moved over to the Microsoft Teams. We are in progress of making that transition happen at some point. Apparently, Microsoft Teams, I haven't actually tested exactly the final status, would be now suitable for the use cases what we're having, but we need to still verify that for the before we actually flip over. Now, when we flip over, that means that you don't have to worry about anything. If you have downloaded the ICS invite from internet, that has an AKMS link, and we will just update the AKMS link on our system, and that will then redirect you on the Skype or to the Microsoft Teams, depending again on the target what we want to do. But that's coming relatively sooner or later, so we'll see when we get there. We've been delaying that transition mainly because there has been a critical functionalities which have been missing, and the Skype is actually relatively reliable as Skype for Business as the platform as well. Now, okay, moving on. So, quick reminder for anybody who's actually joining on the call, you have opportunities to participate on the Patterns and Practices and special interest group calls, so you can, or the community in general. So you can always suggest that to do a demo around SharePoint framework solution or JavaScript development areas. So please ping me or Patrick or anybody from the core team if you're interested in actually doing a live demo in these calls. We do have now few upcoming calls already fully booked, but we'll get you a 10 to 15 minutes in some upcoming schedule whenever it's suitable for you, and you can do a live demo on your functionalities as well. Demos are super important because I think demos are really the value of these calls as well. So surely it's good to know what has happened from an engineering perspective, but then also seeing the live demos helps people to understand how what can be done and how things can be implemented in SharePoint in general. Now, you can absolutely demo PnP JS in an application in these calls as well. You are more than welcome to contribute in GitHub, so with the pull requests or issues, and then also remember to provide feedback or input in general. As an example, so yesterday there was a small itsy-bitsy, well, not a small hiccup, but there was a hiccup actually in SharePoint Online. Luckily, people did actually provide that feedback and pinged us in social media and in Twitter and in GitHub, and we were able to fix that issue relatively fast. We do apologize on any inconvenience that might have actually caused you in your tenant. Now, moving on things. So let's start with a SharePoint Framework engineering update. So a few updates from here. I have a few new slides here as well. Just a reminder again, the documentation is available from AKMS SP Dev Docs, and this is in the docs.microsoft.com platform. MSDN is or has been already shut down. I'm not 100% sure what has happened there. I haven't checked. But anyway, all of the relevant documentation on SharePoint it is in here. If something is missing, please let us know. If you don't like something in the documentation, click the edit button in the top right corner and submit a pull request. Suggest the changes on the documentation and we'll process those in the GitHub and then hopefully get your stuff actually published as such. And if you will contribute, your name will be actually visible as part of the documents as well, which is pretty cool. So you're able to be part of the official documentation on SharePoint just by contributing and helping on fixing, for example, typos or any relevant other information there as well. And I would say for Dex, and so am I the only one who's having who can hear me? So let's now double check this one. So clearly there's some audio issues. Okay, cool. David can hear me and Russell can hear me. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so for those who can't hear, please reconnect. That typically should resolve the issue. And sure, we are heading to the Microsoft Teams. That should be slightly more reliable in the future. Now, moving on things. And please remember to mute yourself. Now somebody's actually joining again with the background noise. So we can actually, so that there's no surprises over there. Excellent. The second thing, a classic slide which we always repeat in here is that please remember to report issues. So yesterday's small hiccup which we had we were able to fix that relatively fast because a person submitted an issue, other people actually came and told that they're seeing exactly the same issue, and people also pinged us on the social media. So basically telling that there is a clear issue which is causing a significant challenges, and we were able to jump in and resolve the issue relatively fast. But in general, if you see anything related on SharePoint Dev, which if something isn't behaving properly, if there's a bug or whatever, report that using the issue list. If it's a non-dev topic, if it's something related on out-of-the-box web parts or something else, we cannot actually take that input using this issue list. So those kind of out-of-the-box functionalities have to be reported using the tenant admin support channels. So please remember that as well. So if you submit an out-of-the-box functionality or issue related out-of-the-box functionality using this issue list, we will unfortunately have to close that issue because our internal process doesn't allow us reporting that through the normal channels. Now, other things, so new stuff, a few updates on the usage. So if you're interested on what is the usage on SharePoint Framework, is people actually using that? Well, answer is yes, if you haven't heard about this one yet. So the growth is absolutely unexpected. Well, not unexpected, but it's growing extremely fast. So we've grown now 571% from the start of the year, and year-over-year growth is 508%. That doesn't make any sense. There has to be a typo there. But anyway, so the growth has been insanely good, and it's growing all the time. So every single week, we're basically seeing a record on the usage. So if you're an ISV or a system integrator and you're wondering on should you be doing still sandbox solutions, or should you be doing classic site templates, or should you be going for SharePoint Framework? And the answer is go SharePoint Framework. That is future-proven way of doing customizations, and everybody, well, not everybody else, but a lot of people are already using SharePoint Framework, and it is by far the most widely used customization model in Office 365. Now, moving on things. So a few updates since the last time when we had the call. So SharePoint Framework 1.71 went live on Tuesday. This was a relatively minor maintenance release. There was 2 bugs, kind of a nasty bugs. Well, not a nasty bugs, but 2 things what we wanted to actually address. So one was related on Yarn and PnP packaging systems, and the second one was related on dynamic data. So if you were using those things, you might have actually run into those issues. If you're not using those things, you probably don't even necessarily have to upgrade to the latest version, so the changes are relatively small. But the 1.71 went live on Tuesday, so if you are now downloading or considering taking the latest version, you will get the 1.71, which is now out. The next version, let's talk about that one in a second in the roadmap slide, but also one update on this one. So SharePoint Starter Kit has a new version available, which is now updated to 1.7. So it's not in 1.71, but it's in 1.7. So we're looking into updating that to 1.71 relatively soon. But there is a new version related on SharePoint Starter Kit, version 1.4, which is now using SharePoint Framework 1.7. Just making sure that everybody is aware of this. Now, and if you're not aware what is a SharePoint Starter Kit, this is basically a nice reference solution with 2 PowerShell commands. You can install this to any tenant, and it will demonstrate what is possible using SharePoint Framework. Everything is open source. There's like 15 to 16 different web parts and extensions and even sample content included in the solution. So whenever it is provisioned, you will have a multiple site collections, multiple example news, multiple functionalities, and you're able to demonstrate what's possible with the modern SharePoint experiences. Now, the next slide was the one which I wanted to actually spend slightly a few more minutes. So just to explain where we are related on next steps. And this isn't anything not that dramatical. We talked about many of these things already in the past, but I wanted to update the roadmap slide to make sure that everybody is up to date on what's happening. So SharePoint Framework 1.8 is coming out on the first quarter of 2019. So the first quarter means between January and March. You can pretty much expect that nothing's going to happen in early January. So you can kind of estimate where this is planned to go. But if there's any late findings, that might delay the schedule. In here in 1.8, we're planning to have a general availability for Microsoft Teams development with SharePoint Framework. So that's going to be there. General availability for single part app pages is planned to be there. General availability for isolated web parts, which was in preview right now, and also general availability for provider hosted solutions in SharePoint side, which basically means the Teams applications in SharePoint side. And then also general availability of SharePoint SP HTTP client batch, which is still in the preview mode in the current releases. Now, all of this is still subject to change. So basically, it might be that if we find something late breaking or something surprising, we might still delay some of the functionalities to 1.9. So I cannot promise that all of these will be delivered in 1.8, but that is the intention right now. And I will keep on obviously updating this slide within the future community calls as well, so everybody will be up to date on what's happening. Now, other topics, I'll come back on the question from Ralph in a second. Other topics on the bubbling under, so the store and app store story for SharePoint Framework, we are currently working on that one. So that seems to be progressing potentially already in the first quarter of next year. SharePoint Framework library package support for third-party developers, potentially in 1.8, maybe in 1.9. And then obviously we're looking into extending the SharePoint Framework usage. The Microsoft Teams is already actively adapting that, and potentially we're looking into doing that for the Office client add-ins as well. So that work is already ongoing. So we're looking into making that happen. But now, if that will happen sooner or later, we will need to start rethinking the name of the SharePoint framework, because it's no longer just about SharePoint. It's about Office 365 or Microsoft 365 customization. So somebody from marketing will probably then make a decision again on the framework name. Now, there was an interesting question on the IM window from Ralph related on SharePoint 2016. And the SharePoint framework support for SharePoint 2016. Let me be super clear on this one. 99.99999% certainly we will never change the supported SharePoint framework version for SharePoint 2016. And somebody might be asking, why not? Answer is SharePoint 2016 does not support modern experiences. It only supports SharePoint framework web parts on a classic pages, and SharePoint 2016 will never support modern experiences. So therefore, we cannot actually get a updated version of SharePoint framework supported in the SharePoint 2016. So just to be super clear on that one, thank you, Ralph, for the feedback as well. On SharePoint 2019, that is supporting 1.4.x version of SharePoint framework. Potentially in the future, we might change that version support. We might increase that as part of SharePoint 2019 CU or Service Pack 1. On the other side, I think we have openly said that there's no service packs in SharePoint 2019, so most likely that will not happen. And changing the supported version for 2016 or 2019 would be a massive, massive, massive testing effort. So most likely we are unable to actually get that investment internally, and that means that that will not happen. Good. Moving on things. So let's get back on the Q&A in a second. Patrick, do you want to actually do the following slide, or should I?
Yeah, if you just want to click to it, yep. I don't need to take over. So again, apologies for my voice today, everybody. Quick updates on PnP JS client-side libraries. We'll have 1.2.8 version going out in early January. I think the date is January 11th. We are still doing beta releases, so you can always preview what's new. Those are generally coming out on Friday, but sometimes at other times, if we get some good functionality added in, I'll push out a beta release for that. So that's always a good way to check out what's new and what's latest through those beta releases. And again, they're beta, so maybe don't use them for production, but they are a real release, right? So it is the same code that would be going into a production release. So do give them a try, and it's a good way to maybe try some stuff out in between the monthly releases. Again, wanted to mention we're starting to think about version 2.0. So bumping that major version means we can break stuff. We don't want to break lots of stuff. We don't want to break common use cases, but it does give us an opportunity to look at changing how some things work. So I've added a roadmap label into the issues list. I think there's 3 things out there right now tagged with that, and happy to get feedback on any of those 3 things, or if you have ideas for other things, certainly would love to hear those ideas. Not necessarily promising we'll be able to do everything or everything in exactly the way folks might want, but definitely want to hear those ideas so we don't miss any feedback or ideas. And again, wanted to stress there's no date for this 2.0 yet at this point. We're just kind of in the planning, road mapping stage. Not probably, sometime in 2019. But again, I don't have a date in mind yet. And a little bit will be when I have a chance to circle back and spend a good chunk of time on prepping for that. But so if you do have ideas, would love to hear them. Excuse me. And then I want to always thank, of course, we've had, again, this month of December, a bunch of great contributors, new contributors. Really appreciate that. So thank you to all of you who are new contributors, and thank you to all of you who are returning contributors. It really makes a big difference in the amount of new stuff and enhancements we can add in the libraries to get folks from the community contributing those pieces of code. Really helps us grow a lot faster and make things better a lot faster for folks. I did want to highlight the numbers I mentioned last call that I hadn't put on the slides, but for November was the first month that PnP JS has crossed over 2 billion requests in a month, went through the library, and that's really fantastic. And those are actually just the ones going to SharePoint Online. So I very much wanted to thank everybody for that. That's a testament to all of you using it in your solutions, using it with your customers and in your projects. So really great milestone, something I'm taking pride in. I hope those of you who've participated and helped out are taking pride in, and it's really all of us making that possible. So, really appreciate all the support there. 2 links down there, well, 1 link down there at the bottom and a hashtag, pnp.github.io/pnpjs will get you the documentation for the PnP JS libraries, and you can follow the hashtag PnPJS on Twitter, as well as myself at Mediocre Bowler on Twitter. And I generally am just posting updates about PnP JS, so you won't get a lot of spam and things like that from me. And there was a question here. Where can we find the roadmap? That's in the issues list. So there's issues in the issues list tagged with a roadmap label. It's kind of a dark orangish color, but you can check that out. And like I said, comment on any of those existing ones, or if you have other ideas, please suggest those, and we'll certainly be interested to hear what you think and see what we can incorporate into upcoming changes in the library. So that's what I've got. Thanks, everybody. Again, appreciate all the contributions, all the feedback. It's really making a difference. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Your voice is carrying on really well. So let's move to CLI because we still have two demos coming up as well. So on the CLI side, Office 365 CLI. So this is a cross-platform command line tool for managing SharePoint Online. So if you're in a Mac or in a Linux, with SharePoint Online PowerShell or it does not work. So therefore, you can actually manage your tenant using this CLI. And there's actually growing interest on using the CLI also in Windows platform. In 1.11, there was an upgrading of support for upgrading SharePoint framework projects from previous versions to 1.71, adding webhooks, setting modern page headers, and support for site collection app catalogs have been added on the CLI side. Waldeck is actively also building a cross-platform PnP StarterKit or SharePoint StarterKit setup script. So that could be then used also in a non-Microsoft platform. And also there's a high interest on knowing what kind of commands people would like to see in the Office 365 CLI. Now, moving on things, I will jump on the SPFx Reusable Components, and I think we have Ilya on the call. Ilya, do you want to actually talk through the latest version and then again do the live demo on the cool new controls as well?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. So last week, we did a new version, or we bumped up the version of the property pane controls. Property pane controls are the ones that are being used for configuring your web parts. Major changes on that one were the collection data control, which has now support for custom field rendering. Like, for instance, the custom field rendering was a question or an ask from Frank Cornu from the search web part, where you can now override the custom rendering of some filters. Also, we added the functionality for sorting, and there was also a request that we had in the issue list. And then there were some bug fixes. What we're currently working on the React controls, which is the controls that you are going to use inside the content zone of your web part or inside your extensions, is version 1.11. And version 1.11 will contain two new controls, which is really, really nice, which is first the map control, which you can already see, and I will quickly demo that as well, and a chart control. So you can now build charts with the PnP controls. Also, some enhancements are coming. We rewritten the people picker completely from scratch. It's now doing different calls to other API endpoints. List view control got a filtering option, so you can now filter the items within your control. So much is coming to the latest version. Hopefully we can release it tomorrow. Still some testing is going on for the people picker. So I will now share my screen. And let me know if you see it. Do you see my screen?
Loading, not yet,
Oh.
not yet.
No, now it appears that it's...
And now it's actually at least visible for me. Yep, got it. And we have a configuration on one window.
Perfect. So what you can here see is a quick web part that I just developed with these new controls. Great thing about these controls is they don't really require a lot of properties and a lot of configurations, so you can just copy paste the snippets from the documentation and you're up to go. So what I have done on this web part is I use two new chart controls and one map control. So the map control, that's the one you can see at the top, of course. Configuration that is required only needs to have a title. That's up to you. Coordinates, and if you want to enable searching or not. So you can just go in and you can start looking for different let's say that we want to go to New York. Let's search, and now I'm in New York. It's using OpenStreetMap, free to use, so that's why the author of this used it. So let's go back to London, for instance, and all working fine. So this is a really nice control that you can insert in your web parts. Charts, there are a lot of charts. I think Hugo Bernier, I don't know if you are, if I'm saying your name correctly, Hugo, sorry, but he written this control completely from scratch, I think, and he has added a lot of documentation around these controls. So all the controls or all the charts that are available are all documented in different pages. So really nice way for you if you want to get started with using this control. Then you see all the possibilities. So we have, it's not yet in the public documentation. This is going to come from the moment this release comes out. One more thing for the property pane control, if you really want to see it. Now we have the sorting available over here. So you can just say, we can change the sorting, and here you can see the custom rendering. That's my custom renderer that I can define in my code. Over here you can see that I can just override my render methods of the control. So sky is the limit with this one. So if we support a couple of things like string, text, or string and number and so on. If we don't support it, then you can build it yourself. The only thing what you need to do is write the renderer for it. So that's it on the control side.
Excellent. So let's move back on the slide. So let me activate the slide back. And there was a question related from Louis. Can you add overlays on the map? I think right now answer is no, but that's a
indeed
development topic. So yeah,
that's indeed a nice thing. So I would recommend to add that to the issue list so that we are aware of it and that we can start working on that one.
Yeah. Good. Can people see the slides? So I move back on the slides. Louis said thanks. Somebody, yes, excellent. Thank you, David. So, and we do apologize. Some of you are having some issues related on Skype. Again, we are looking into moving to Microsoft Teams relatively fast from next calendar year. So that should hopefully increase the quality of the calls as well. Now, moving on things, that was just the demo marker for the Elio, which we just saw, so that's great stuff, and thank you for the contributions on those controls. And then I think we have Stefan on a call as well, related on the updates on the PnP SPFx generator, right, Stefan?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
Yeah, oh, good. Okay. So on Tuesday, the Microsoft Generator SharePoint version 1.7.1 was released, and after that we upgraded brought out the new version, SharePoint PnP SPFx Generator version 1.5.2, which includes the new generator that has been released in as the core engine to create your new projects. In this release, we also upgraded the Office 365 CLI, which actually does the checking if your project is currently running on 1.7, 1.6, or what steps you need to do. So you get a full report out. What you need to do is to upgrade your SharePoint project to the latest version. We also updated the PnP JS, so we support now 1.2.7 version in there, and the PnP SPFx property control that Elio actually mentioned with the version 1.13.1. So the package that we now deliver in the PnP SPFx generator are mostly the latest releases. So in future we actually have some things that we want to implement or add to the web part, to the generator in general. So there is something named Webpack Bundle Analyzer, which allows you to identify possible floatings in your bundle sizes, and that you can, for example, move some library to jQuery, and this is an analyzer. So before you ship it, it actually shows you what library needs what space in your package. Another thing is, from a testing perspective, we're actually looking into to implement a Jest testing workbench directly for React.js projects. There is some things that Andrew Connell already did, because we support now in SPFx two different React versions, the React version 15 and the React version 16. And in the future, you will also be can directly use it when you create a new project. Can directly write the test in Jest. Another thing that is coming in the future is the style lint. So basically, you can do some linting on your style sheets. This is something that Sergey Sergeyev currently is building, and because the Webpack bundle analyzer, the Jest framework, the style linter, they're all for all projects potentially. We need to make some architectural updates on the add-on generator, which currently handles the libraries like jQuery, to have actual gulp tasks that will be automatically deployed with a library. For example, the Webpack bundle analyzer, you want to have the gulp task directly in the gulp file. You want for the style linter, it's the same. And these are the things that are coming up, I think, somewhere in January. Yeah. So if you want to get the latest version, just do npm install -g at Microsoft Generator SPFx. There's a small typo in there. And for more information, you find it on pnp.github.io/generator/SPFx. And that's all from my side for the update.
How do we, Stefan, actually miss that one? Sorry, the npm install is completely wrong for that one. Sorry for that. We need to fix that for the template. That's weird. So, and just to quickly clarify, so the PnP SPFx generator extends the out-of-the-box generator, which is coming from engineering, and extends that with an open source aspect. So like adding a Angular support and Vue.js support and all of that stuff. So this one is using the out-of-the-box SPFx generator under the hood. So it is 100% safe to use this one. And then based on your selection, it is extending stuff in your scaffolding. So support for Vue and Angular is in the latest versions of PnP SPFx generator. Now, the installation command is, however, wrong. So, Stefan, you should actually have the installation command on the iron window for the PnP SPFx generator. Now, we are 3 minutes delayed on the target, which my internal target. But let's start with Luis, and we need to promote Luis as a presenter first. So, Luis, are you in the call? Hopefully you are.
Hi, guys.
Excellent, you're there. Good, so let me upgrade you as a presenter. And there we go, and feel free to start presenting. So we'll start with Luis on the React Teams tab, suggested members, and then we go to David Warner after that.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Esa. I'm sharing my screen. So let me know, please, guys, when you can see it.
And let's see. Loading. And I can see the screen. Thank you, Luis.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm gonna show you this SPFx web part and Teams tab that is gonna suggest you some members that you may want to add to a team. So, well, as usual, the code is already available in the SPFx GitHub repo, so feel free to get it and give it a try. And before diving into the code, we're going to take a quick look to the functionality. So I'm jumping to the Microsoft Teams website, and here you can see one of the teams. And as you can see so far, there's only one member. My user is the owner of the group. So sometimes when you create a group, it's not easy to know all the members, all the people that you want to add to the group. So I thought it was a good idea to get some suggestions using the Graph API. So if we jump into the General tab, as you can see here, there's a Suggested Team Members tab. This is my SPFx solution. And I'm getting some members that I'm working close to this member. This is based on the people endpoint from the Graph API. So there's an easy way to select the users. You can type ahead. And with just one click, you can add different members to the team. So, well, we are getting the message that these 2 members are part of the team, and if we go back to the teams, you can see that now there's a couple of new members. In case that you are adding a member that is actually already a member in the solution, you're just gonna get a couple of warning messages on here, and the one that was added. If you try to do the same in a group that you are not a member of, then you're just gonna get a error message, because obviously you cannot add members to this group. Also, note here that in the title of the solution, you can see that we are rendering the teams that where the tab is living. And this is because we are getting the team's context. We're going to take a look to the code in a minute, but note that one of the great things is that the solution, the SPFx solution, can work in SharePoint as well. So you can see here the same solution in a SharePoint site. Again, we can see here that there's only one members, and we can give it a try again. And we are adding the new members. And if we refresh on here, hopefully we should find the new members. Yeah, so it's working in SharePoint, it's working in Teams. And as you can see here, the difference is that when we are not in a Teams context, here we are just rendering the ID of the group instead of the name of the teams. So this is the functionality of this solution, and we're going to take a quick look to the code. So if we jump into Visual Studio Code, well, first of all, there's a small pill here in the gulp file. What I've done is, as you likely know, when you are deploying the solution into Teams, at some point you're going to need to create a zip file with these 3 files on here in the Teams folder. This is the Teams manifest and a couple of icons. And, well, you have to create a zip file with these 3 files if you want to deploy into Teams. So I just created a custom gulp dash. So if you do gulp package Teams here, you're going to get the zip file. And if the zip file already exists, it's going to be removed and zip it again using the gulp zip package, a small utility. So if we go to the main, the entry point is the web part, and on here, the main thing is that we need to get to a Microsoft Teams context. And to do that, we need to use the onInit method. And in the onInit, what we are calling is the Microsoft Teams field that we have in the SPFx context. And we need to call the getContext function, and this is an async function. So when we get the context back, callback, we are just setting this private field with the context. So in the render of the web part, we are just rendering a React component, and we are passing the Teams context, the Graph HTTP client, and the group ID, because we're going to need these fields in the web part. So if we jump into the React component, what we have here is just a couple of main functions. The first one is checking that the user is the owner of the group. And this is just done calling the Graph API again, this own objects endpoint, filtering by the group ID. So if the response is okay, the user is the owner of the group, otherwise the user is not the owner. And then to get the suggested people, as I said before, we are calling the people endpoint. This is the same that, for instance, is doing Delph when it's getting you suggested people. But that could be any other logic that we can apply. Once we can call the Graph API, we could get people by department or office location or any complex functionality. In this case, we are just calling the people endpoint and returning the different peoples in a custom interface. So when we are render the component As we can see here, if the user is not owner, we are displaying the error. And if the user is owner, we are checking if we are in a Teams context or not, just to show the title, the name of the team in the title, or just the group ID if we are running the web part in SharePoint. So that way you can distinguish if you are running inside Teams or SharePoint and apply your logic. And then we have another custom React component, the member speaker. And in this one, there's a bunch of code actually related with the people picker Office Fabric UI, just because you need to do to code the functionality that you want. When a user is selected in the list, you remove the user, you type ahead, and so on. We are not going to go through all this code, but the main thing here is the action to add the selected members to the teams or the group. And to do that, what we have is an add group members function on here. And the main thing here is that if you want to add different people in the same, in just one code, have to do a batch request on here. And in the batch request, you have to compose a JSON body with the different requests that you want to run in the same batch. And in this case, the URL is pointing to the group members endpoint, so that way we can add a specific user into the group, and we have to send this body, OData ID, and the user ID that you want to add into the group. If we want to take a quick look, the Graph Explorer, this is actually how it looks, the batch request. So you have a request array, and for each request you have the method, the URL, and the body. In this case is that one to add the member, and you have to pass a specific ID because the response is going to include this ID, so you can do the match, because you can get the response of the second request in the first play and so on. So you have to use that custom ID to match the request. And then we are just using the Graph HTTP client to post to the batch endpoint. And well, after all, we are checking the different responses. So if we have a 204 response, the user was added successfully. Otherwise, something went wrong, or just maybe the user is already a member. So yeah, this is how it works, and this is the code. So as I said, feel free to get it from the repo and give it a try. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Luis. Great stuff, and a great demo on how to use the Graph APIs together with SharePoint framework in the SharePoint or in the Microsoft Teams. So it's a nice sample showing quite a few different technical concepts, and it's not also too complex, which means that it's a good sample for people to learn from, which is a good thing as well. But thank you, Luis. I think it's time to move then to David. So David, you are a presenter, so it's a matter of sharing the screen.
All right, getting ready to load. Thank you.
Yes. Order is
Let me know when you can see it.
Loading 3 dots. And here we go. We can see who you are. There we go. Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take it away.
Cool. All right. So for those that don't know me, David Warner, big SharePoint fan, PnP fan, sports fan. So here's my contact information and my blog. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Today, we're going to talk about Office 365 CLI and combining that with Docker and SPFx. Now, this is a really cool strategy. There's a lot of benefits for using Docker for SPFx. It's one of many, though, so don't mind me. I'm not saying this is the way. We've got, the OG, the original gangster of using NPM and Node and all of that on your machine, and you've got as was highlighted by Stefan, the PnP SPFx generator. Docker is just one, so you might want to look into it after this. And we're going to highlight a couple of different things. It's not going to go too in depth. Wallach is a fantastic blog on how to get started with this, so we're not going to go over too much of that. Just kind of see how we can use it. So we're also going to see how to include CLI inside of our Docker strategy in the Docker file. We'll initialize it, and then we'll show a quick upgrade for a web part. All right. So what are the benefits of using Docker and SPFx development together? So it's isolated. It's very much like a VM. It allows you to keep your OS clean. You're not installing Node or Yeoman or Gulp or any of the other dependencies. The only thing you're really installing is Docker. And it allows you to quickly switch between versions of SPFx or any other dependencies that you include in your Docker image. So to the next bullet point, it's very fast and efficient. It's lightweight. Again, is the only thing that you need to install on your machine. So it's got really fast startup times that you'll see. A couple of benefits. Now, this is a very busy slide. We could almost spend a half an hour talking about just this, so don't let it overwhelm you, though. The concept here is that Docker uses images and containers. It's very much like VMs. Images are non-editable entities, so you can see up here I've identified a 1.6.0 non-editable image, which includes the basic dependencies we need to do a SharePoint framework development. That will be needed from a global perspective. Right, and then here's another image for 1.7.1 that we are going to take a look at today. Containers are kind of like the middlemen. They allow you to connect your local solution files on your hard drive to your image, right? And so even though this information and the assets included in your Docker image are non-editable, you still can install local NPM packages that are editable, not edible, don't eat your hard drive, and you can actually access all of that and still do your full NPM packages and solution files and editing as you'll see here today. So what makes up a Docker image? You use what's called a Docker file. Now, this is kind of like the ingredients list to the recipe that creates your Docker image. And you would then compile this into a Docker image that you can store on your hard drive. You can store in the Docker Hub for free. Waldeck has some up there that you can grab. I have some up there that you can grab. And they're very quick and easy to get to. It's anonymously accessible. And you can see here that what we're identifying is our necessary ingredients. So in this case, I'm running node 811.3, and then I'm identifying all the necessary dependencies. And so we think, great, that's all we need to get started. Fantastic. I do want to include the Office 365. So it's an NPM package. I can just install it after the fact as a local guy from my container. But that's not the case. It does have to be a global installation. And so it's super, super complex. And the way we do it is you just simply add it to your image and your Docker file. It's really, really super easy and very cool. And this gives you full access within your Docker development strategy to all the power of the CLI. And so we're gonna go ahead and see how that can be utilized today in one particular method for upgrading a web part. So let's go ahead and switch over here. Now what I've got is I pre-created a couple of web parts. So we've got our web part numero uno, web part part deux, and so we're going to start up a 1.6.0 Docker container connected to a Docker image. And this is going to have all of the 1.6.0 framework that we need. And we're going to go ahead and add a third web part to that, to this solution. So I'll go ahead and copy here. I've got a lot of stuff ready to go. Now, this is a Docker command that instantiates our Docker container. Again, a lot of documentation around what all these mean. We're essentially saying, go start my 1.6.0 image. Right? Connect a container to it, and I want to point it to the files that are living on my hard drive, which are right here. Right? That's the basic that you really need to know. The rest of these are just ports and Docker-specific commands. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and it's going to kick us in. We see we're now inside of our Docker container, and just to know that we have our 1.6.0. I'm going to go ahead and do a search on NPM outdated, looking specifically for the SharePoint generator, and it's going to pop up and tell us that we are outdated. We actually could upgrade to 1.7.0. So we know we're using the 1.6.0 information framework file. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create another web part. I'm just going to do the yo skip install. We're not going to do any NPM installs here. We don't have, ain't nobody got time for that today, right? So we're going to go ahead and tell it we want to scaffold out a new web part. And we're going to go ahead and call our web part when it asks us a specific name. We will call it when it's ready. Doesn't take this long typically, but This is a demo. There we go. Okay, so we want a web part. And we're going to go ahead and call it web part thrice is nice. And so we're going to see that loaded up here once we go ahead and scaffold it out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. We'll just leave the description, no JavaScript framework. What the what? What is that? That looks new. Okay, full disclosure. Engineering team didn't create this. This isn't official. You're not going to find this when you go run your npm install. I was just playing with this last night and having fun with some ASCII, but kind of cool. We might see something like this coming soon, hopefully. All right. Okay, so now we've created our web part thrice is nice. You can see, again, this is all running within Docker. I don't have Node installed on this machine at all on my root hard drive. So I am now loaded in 1.6. We created web part thrice is nice. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to a 1.7.1 Docker image that I created that also includes the CLI. In this one, I did not include the CLI. So if I try to instantiate it using O365, it's going to simply tell us that it can't find it. You can see that down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and exit my container. And I'll just clear the screen so we have up at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and paste in. This is exactly like the last container instantiation. We're just booting up Docker to say, hey, point to these files here. But instead, this time, use my Docker image that is specifically pointing at 1.7.1. And we know it includes the CLI because that's the naming convention I used. So now we're inside of that. And again, just to confirm, I can go ahead and do another npm outdated. This is going to come back, just tell us nothing because we're not outdated. It's going to be blank because we are up to date. There you go. So now we want to instantiate the CLI. It's super easy. You literally just type O365 and wait a second, and then it's going to instantiate. And now we're inside the CLI. Simple as that. Now, if you have done any research or exposure to the CLI, you know that one of the features, one of many, is called the project upgrade command. And you can use that to identify what your solution needs to do to upgrade to a next or a future version. In this case, 1.7.1. I am using the newest version of the CLI, so I can go up to 1.7.1. And then what I'm saying here is that I want to output the information in Markdown to a report here in my solution called Docker CLI Upgrade Report. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to take a look at that real quick to see what benefits it brings us. So I'm going to go ahead and enter, and it just rolls through. It does output everything on the screen for you, so you know, if you really enjoy Pane, you could scroll back up and read through all of this yourself, or we could open up Visual Studio Code and go look at our files and find our upgrade report right here, and go ahead and use VS Code to preview it. Now this is, I mean, I did a video on this, but to me, this is still just super cool, right? We ran it, today's the 20th, and it went through, did all of our findings, and it highlights everything that we would need to do to upgrade this particular solution and all of the web parts to 1.7.1. As I scroll through, you can see there's all kinds of stuff, and you could just copy and paste each one of these. But what you could also do is look at the summary. There is a summary here down at the bottom that you can just go through and copy and paste or save as a file and execute, and it'll do all of that for you. And so we're not going to do the NPM because, again, we know we don't have time for that, but I am going to highlight what part of 1.7.1 we do want to look at, which is that it creates the Teams folders. We saw a demo of that moments ago with Lewis, right? And it creates these Teams folders. Now, to me, one of the coolest things on the CLI is that I've got multiple web parts in here, and typically when you scaffold that, you're going to get one Teams folder. This is intelligent enough to do a couple of things. One, it knows that I'm within a different container, right? So it knows I'm not using C:, blah, 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 as if it was on my local machine. And it does everything perfectly right here to where I am running within Docker. And then it knows, hey, you've got more than one web part, so we can't just have one Teams folder with a manifest file because it's just not enough space for everybody. 3 to crowd. So if I were to copy this, I literally just need to copy it. And I will scroll down to the bottom. We know it needs to include all these PNG files, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back to my command window, and I'm going to exit the CLI. You just do that with exit, and then I'm going to exit or I'm going to stay within Docker, so I'm still looking at my solution. And we want to look right over here. We want to pay attention to over here on the left within our within our Visual Studio Code. I'm going to paste what I just copied out of the report. And what it's going to do, ideally, is it's going to create those folders, create the manifest, and copy the PNGs from within my Docker image into my Docker solution files. So I'm going to do that, and bam, there they are. Showed up perfectly. Here's the manifest. Here is the tabs. If I open this up, let me go ahead and close this, and close the preview, and we scroll down, we can see everything is here. And then there's a separate manifest for each one, right? And so it's intelligent enough to know, and if we go over to our files, here they are. I go back up to the top of my solution. There it is. All lives on my hard drive, doesn't live in image. I can upload this to GitHub or whatever file repository we need or want to have. And it shows you the power of combining something like Docker, SPFx, and CLI together to work in some perfect harmony. And again, all I've installed on my machine is Docker. And I'll just kind of prove there's no wizard behind the curtain. If I exit Docker here, clear my screen and go node, doesn't even know it exists. My machine doesn't even know it exists. So again, a couple of options here. Really so much more to each one of these using Docker, using the CLI. This is really to provide a glimpse of the benefit of one, each of them, but two, using them all together. And I know we just have a couple minutes left, so thank you guys for your time.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, David. I think understanding how the Docker works and understanding the value of Docker is super important. Now, there was a question related on Docker support and 1.7, which we had apparently some issues. We're still working on that one, so unfortunately no news on that one as such, but good stuff, really good stuff. Cool. That's it right about now for the actual community call. We have 2 minutes for the ad hoc Q&A. So if there's any super urgent questions which me, David, Luis, Patrick, or Elio, or Stefan missed during the call, now is your chance for 2 full minutes. And obviously we should have slightly more time always on Q&A on this, but hey. Can anyone share a blog post to set up a Docker? I think probably Waldek's blog post around that one is the easiest one. If somebody can actually easily find out. What is the hex code for the exact orange tone that visualizes? So you can go and have a look on the StarterKit historical theme colors. You can find it from there. Thank you, David, for the framework Docker. So that's there. Any ad hoc new out-of-the-box web parts like quick links and my stuff implements what was in StarterKit. That is absolutely correct. So you will see more and more web parts coming in the future, out-of-the-box web parts in the future, which might or might not address some of the samples what we've been having in the past. So, and that is obviously by design. There might be something which is there first as a community open source implementation, and then our web part team is taking innovation out of that one, and then they're providing out-of-the-box one. There is a relatively long list of out-of-the-box web parts in the queue, and what's coming where I cannot disclose at this point, but there's quite a lot of things, and there's a kind of a web part factory way of thinking in the future, that there would be more and more functionalities available out of the box, because that just makes a lot of sense. Good. Can Microsoft open source first-party web parts? From Gautam, good question. Answer for now is no. There are reasons behind of that, and I can't actually go too much detailed right now on that one, but there's a process, logistics, and other reasons why we're not open sourcing the first-party web parts for now. Open sourcing them would, just an example, it would change completely the whole engineering process. It would mean that somebody would have to follow up on what are the contributions from the community. Somebody would have to merge those together with the engineering efforts. We would have to have multiple forks, because there might be something which we are building to be released in a few months, and all of that. So it would be a pretty significant change on the thinking, how do we do development. Now, at some point in the future, who knows? Durai is asking around the extra parameters around around Graph API call. To be fair, I do not know. If somebody knows an answer why there's an extra parameter using in this call, they can answer that. There is a separate Graph community call which is happening, I think, on first Tuesday of every single month, except the next one will be 2 days later, so Thursday on the week of, I think it's 3rd of January. So Jeremy Thake or somebody else would be the right person to answer the Graph questions. I don't want to actually answer them because I might actually say something wrong, not really in their time. Good. We are 1 minute on top of the hour, so let's actually close up. So the recording seems to be relatively successful this time. There was a small hiccup at some point, but we should be fine. The recording will be out in the YouTube channel within 24 hours. AKMS SP PnP or SP Dev videos is the YouTube channel where all of the old recordings are available as well. Next SPFx meeting is in January 3rd. So this is Thursday in 2 weeks, and then the next week we will have a general SharePoint Dev special intro script call on the 27th as well. If you please remember to also rest and take time for your family, but if you are working and if you're interested in joining the call, we will be here on next Thursday as well with community demos already queued up. But happy holidays, happy New Year, depending on are you working or not, I don't know. Anyway, but hopefully you will have some time to rest during the upcoming weeks as well. But thank you, Luis, thank you, David, and thank you, Elio, for the demos and updates. And like I said, the blog post and video will be out in 24 hours. Thank you, everybody. We'll be absolutely in touch. Bye-bye.